Hey everybody, hope you're doing good today. So it's been about a week since I've owned my ZT-0350. Been carrying it all this week and using it every chance I get. Really been liking the speed assist on this. It's really easy to close. Some that I have of Kershaw's, it's sort of like a lot more resistance right around this point, which makes it harder to do with one finger. This one's smooth throughout. But really wanted to try this de-assisted because I know you could actually do that. It has a detent ball and an actual reciprocating hole in the actual blade itself. And I've seen a couple of videos where people have Spec Operator 4 de-assisted his. A few older ones out there too. But I thought I'd just film this and see what happens. So just getting into this, I'll need a T7 and a T9. The T9's for the pivot and the T7's for the body screws. Just going to open this up and get that out of the way. And loosen off the pivot a little. And then just crack the body screws. I haven't had any problems using this knife when it has been assisted. Just sort of curious on what it's like when it is de-assisted. Been enjoying carrying this knife. The width of the blade this way really lends itself to a thinner grind at the cutting edge, and been using this knife for food prep and really liking it for that. Cutting up onions and harder vegetables like that. This sort of belly here really chops through them really nice. Just get this pivot here. This knife should come apart pretty easy. You see the scale came off there. Just maybe take these screws out. Yeah, like I thought, this thing's insanely greasy inside, so I will have to wipe a lot of this down. You see all the sort of lube or grease they put in, and there's the Speed Safe also covered in that clear grease. I thought they used white lithium grease on these, but I guess they might have changed it up for this. Just sort of get all that crap off. Really, with all that sort of grease in there, it's just begging for dust to cling to it, which would bog down this knife over time if you don't open it up and clean it. But I know they pack it like that because if you don't, the Speed Safe, when the blade is open, will rattle around and everything. So I got most of that out there. Just take this out. It should just come out easy. And there's the Speed Assist bar. Let's wipe that off before I put it away. And maybe take up this scale here and wipe it down. Been very surprised with this knife. I didn't know really what I was expecting when I got this knife, whether it'd be something I liked or not, but really liking it. And it's neat to see different companies' version of the same sort of steel. I've got a lot of Spyderco's and S30V, and this is really my first S30V blade by a different company, and I could actually notice a difference. It seems like ZT might run their S30V a little bit softer than Spyderco, but what you get with that is a little bit more tougher, and you can definitely notice that when you're doing tasks that would normally sort of chip out something like my Para 2. That's all nice and clean. Don't think, just get this oil off the lock bar. That's never a good thing. Maybe put a drop of lube back in there. Another thing I was surprised to see just opening this now is how small this actual washer is. I guess they had to do that because that's the hole where the speed safe actually goes. Yeah. Let's clean up some of this. I put a little bit too much on. See the Zytel backspacer. Actually looks almost like maybe the blade is hitting it when it's closed. Let's get this to focus. No, it's not going to focus. Right around here it has a couple little nicks out of it. Don't know if that's from just maybe the machining of it, or if the actual blade's hitting it when it's in the closed position. I'll have to sort of check that out when I put it back together. So putting this back together, just going to take a little second and look at it, see what the best way would be. I'll probably need something to locate this before I actually do put it back together. Let's see how easily it stays in place. Maybe I could use this. Just sort of putting the torsion bar into the holes to line up the holes with the actual liners and the Zytel backspacer. Seems to be good right there. Just grab our top scale, put that back on. There's a little bit of grease in the recess for the pivot, so I'll clean that out before I do. I'm actually getting a little excited here to try this out without the speed safe in it. That should be good there. Might just put the pivot in now, just to sort of hold everything together. Not going to tighten it down too much, just so everything doesn't sort of flop out. Backspacer got out of the line a little bit. Maybe get one of these screws in. There we go. So not too difficult to get these screws back in, and actually this is probably one of the easiest knives I've taken apart and put back together in quite some time. Just sort of snug these down, not going full tight on these, just enough to get a little bit of a bite on them, and then I'm stopping. Everything's still loose. The pivot's loose, and both or all three body screws are loose. Just seeing where the centering is, seeing any steps I need to take to get it centered. I'm probably going to end up tightening down the pivot all the way, and then tightening down all the body screws. I'll give that a good torque. That's about right. So I can't really move this. It's like really hard to do it. That's sort of what I'm looking for, just to sort of get the best centering out of this as I can. when I had the speed safe in this, I should have actually showed that. The centering was favoring the non-locking side. That's because the lock bar pressure and also the pressure of the speed assist pulling it to that side. So I'm interested to see if with the lock bar out of it, if it'll actually sort of correct itself. I'm not doing all these tight all at once. Usually with anything in a sort of pattern like this, you'd want to snug them up a little bit at a time until you get them full tight. But the reason I tighten down the pivot first all the way is because that's really the point that's the most accurate, I want to say. So everything should be machined right there, so when you tighten that down, it should actually help a lot with the centering. So now I'm just going to sort of force this closed and then adjust my pivot screw so the action's a little better. There's no blade play. Oh, flick's pretty easy too. I think you need a little bit of wrist to get it out. That feels really nice. So check the detent on it. Actually seems like a pretty strong detent. Centering on it. Still off to that side. I might try to correct that a little, but it's not rubbing, as you can see, so it's not really a problem. That's really smooth. Not a free dropper. Let's try the thumb stud. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's de-assisting the Zero Tolerance 0350. I'm going to carry this for a little while, see if I like it any better or any worse than with it assisted. But having it de-assisted this way, you got a lot more options on sort of how to open it. You could open it slow with the thumb studs. You could actually still use the flipper and then flick it out with the thumb studs. I had a hard time flicking this out with the thumb studs with the speed safe installed, so it's nice to see that it sort of took some of the pressure away from flicking it out with your thumb. Awesome, guys. So I'll let you know how I like carrying this without it assisted over the next week or two, and thanks for watching this.